Hello everybody, welcome to number 15 of the series. And like last time, I will skip question 17 as it is also about whether tax is justified or not, and I will have the same answer. So the new question reads, number 18. Locke thought that people had to come to have rights to private property even before the institution of government. Is this possible? What is a right to private property anyway? Isn't property a legal convention? This one is quite thought-provoking, as it goes to the details of Locke's work. First, the right to property is a term that Locke uses to describe the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to estate. But since the question says private property, it's leaning towards the definition of estate. Locke believes this. People own their labor. They can use their labor to make certain things better and develop it from their original state. When they mix something with their labor, that becomes their property. Let's say, for example, people are back in a world where land is not claimed. Then a person discovering farming. He goes to a piece of unclaimed land. He plants seed in them, waters them, and cares after them, growing crops. He has mixed his labor, developing land compared to their original states. Now let's answer the other part of this question. Why do people have this right? According to Locke, there are laws and rights in the state of nature. Locke describes the state of nature as in a state where an institution or society or commonwealth or civil states does not exist, and people are simply living without a type of government. That is the state of nature. They have the pre-existing rules, and laws by society come after them. So why do they exist? So why do laws in the state of nature exist? First, Locke mentions that people have the capacity to reason. By their virtue and capacity of reason, people can know the natural laws that exist while protecting the rights of others. However, this part was only a small part in Kant's work. The bigger part is that God gave us the world to everybody, and he gave the rights to people too. Now this answer may come as disappointing because it's related to religion, and many of us nowadays are not religious. But I think it's okay. After all, what matters is that the theories have caused change in society and made us think about rights and freedom from a different perspective. We cannot expect Locke to have a perfect and secular theory in that era. In fact, he was very progressive for his time. I'll give you an anecdote about his era, since he also mentions it in why he wrote this book in the preface of the book. The Glorious Revolution that happened from 1688 to 1689 influenced this work a lot. This was a time when the deposition of King James II and the ascension of William III and Mary II to the throne happened. It was the moment when the Parliament gained more power than the monarchy, granting rights and liberties to people. This was unaccepted by everyone, and Locke wanted to persuade to people that this change was justified. People such as Sir Robert Filmer expressed criticism on this. One logic that they used is that comparing the power of monarchy to paternal power, or the power that the parents have to their children. Because they claimed for that reason that monarchs should have absolute power. Another logic used is that God gave the rights to monarchs, and therefore the people must follow God. And now it makes sense, right? To rebut to the logic that kings have paternal power was that paternal power only exists until the children became mature and have the capacity to reason. Since the people of the civil state are different and have the capacity to make choices for themselves, using reason and respecting the rights of others, monarchs do not have the power to control them. And yes, Locke was probably religious, but maybe Locke didn't want to include divine influence in his justification if it weren't for the situation. But at that time, this was a strong rebuttal to his opponents, and were the intuitive lines of logic that could have persuaded lots of people. That concludes the parts directly related to this question, but I want to explain one more thing about Lockean philosophy, since this is the first question that addresses it. At first glance, Lockean philosophy looks like it's basically the same thing as libertarianism. After all, both advocate rights. In fact, a lot of libertarians have used Lockean logic to support their theory. However, there are key differences. Essentially, the nuance itself is different. Locke supports more of the idea that we should achieve a good world through keeping the rights and freedom. Libertarians, on the other hand, supports more of the idea that I'm gonna do whatever I want as long as it doesn't harm others. But this is not a philosophical breakdown, it's just to give you a sense of it. Let's examine the clear differences then. First, the origin of rights. Lockean philosophy is rooted in the fact that people have reason and God granted us rights. Libertarians believe rights come from self-ownership, the belief that I own myself. Locke also does not say people have the rights to do anything they want. He says specifically that people have the rights to their life, liberty, and estates. Libertarians don't identify the rights, it is more in the belief that people can choose whatever they want for their own good. However, some people may not like this discrimination, since they believe that the right to liberty can be interpreted in practically any way. The second difference is the intervention of government. Lockean philosophy believes that the government can and should intervene to preserve the rights of people. This looks like collecting taxes, creating hospitals, creating fire departments, constructing roads, building public schools, making laws, making minimum wage laws, and more and more. Libertarians don't want that. They want a minimal government. Their line of logic leans towards an anarchy, but I think they just want a minimal government, since they always know a zero government would lead to chaos. They rather want laws and social practices to be decided by the free market and other forms of two consenting adults making an agreement. The third difference, similar to the second one, is the role of the distribution of wealth. Lockeans support distribution of wealth because it can allow institutions to be built, making it easier to protect the rights and pursue the common good. Libertarians believe wealth is earned by people, and taking away that in any form is a type of slavery. It is because they think, I own myself, therefore I own my labor, therefore I own the fruits to my labor, and therefore taking away the fruits to my labor, which is oftentimes money, is taking away a part of me. The fourth difference is the acquisition of property. Locke introduces the Lockean proviso. In it, he argues that people should take property when there's enough and as good for others left. Libertarians will argue that no, people can take as much property as they want, there is no stopping force on that. The fifth difference is whether people can give up their rights or not. Lockeans would say that people can never surrender their essential rights. Rights exist even in the state of nature, and it is an essential part of being a human. This is why Locke opposes slavery, even if slaves say that they want to be slaves. Libertarians would support any form of giving up rights, since they believe people own themselves. Those are the main differences of Lockean philosophy and libertarianism. I hope you learned a bit more about Locke. That's it for today. See you in the next entry.